So what weights do you use? Hey, I'm Deborah Atkinson, founder of Flipping 50. This is one of the most asked questions I get, whether it's a workout video or it's a talk about bone density. I'm often asked, where do I start? What weights do I do? And here's the answer to that question. It depends, but there are several things that it depends on. Can you tell? New puppy owner, my life is not my own. Hold 1 second. Meet the boss, and then we'll hope he will be quiet for the rest of the video. So here's the things that really determine how much weight. And then I want you to realize I can't tell you specifically because I can't reach right through there and I can't lift the weight and feel what it feels like to you. But what I will do is tell you how to choose. So first of all, we'll address what factors will determine how much weight you want to lift. Then we'll look at how do we reduce your risk of injury and increase your likelihood of getting the results that you want by choosing the right weight. And then when it is that you want to break those rules, when you're no longer a beginner and you want to manipulate results because you're potentially on a plateau. Here we go. Number one, you're either a beginner. You are someone who's been lifting weights for, say, the last 3 to 4 weeks inconsistently or not at all. So that in my mind is a beginner. You're still really a beginner for the first 6 months, but the time, if you're regularly, consistently working out, say at least twice weekly for about 2 months, then we've had a chance to lay down a foundation for not just your muscle, but for your ligaments, the connective tissue around each of our joints. That's really the factor we have to pay attention to. When you're a beginner, you want higher number of repetitions to muscular fatigue, and that's going to require a lighter weight. You'll be able to do a lighter weight more times and still get results, because here's what's happening within the first 6 to 8 weeks of starting an exercise program. We're kind of making a stronger connection between the brain, the neural connection, and the muscles. So let's say we want to do a bicep curl. Now, if you're going to go for metabolism, you really want to focus on chest muscles, back muscles, your glutes, your quadriceps, your hamstrings, those major muscles. This is not going to help with your metabolism. And here's a little false truth that you think arm exercises will get you arm tone. You really don't have to do arms very much at all to get toned arms. But I digress. We'll lead you to another video that'll help you with that. Here's what you want to consider. So even though mentally you may come to me and say, I want to focus on bone density, which requires you lifting heavier, you can't start there. No one can. No one who is starting or restarting after an injury or an absence or an illness should start heavy. We still need to go backward, even if we've been working heavier at some point in our lives. It's really important that we lay that foundation again and we wake up this neural connection. Your brain can send a stronger signal. It's like having better Wi-Fi when we practice it and we rehearse it. So let yourself do that. You can't rush it. If you pick up a heavier weight thinking, well, I'm going to get fit faster, you actually cannot rush this neural connection. So take your time. Here's what that looks like. You're going to use that lighter weight, one that helps you fatigue within 15 or 20 repetitions. That's a really kind of a sweet spot. So you're not doing so much that you're doing wear and tear damage to joints. So if we just go light weights and we do tons and tons of repetitions, we're still going to wear those joints out. We don't want to do that. We're going to use them for the next 30 or 40 or 50 years, right? So you also don't want to go too heavy. So we want to be in the sweet spot between too light, too heavy. 15 to 20 repetitions is a really good range. And what that means is somewhere between 15 or 20, you're going to reach the point of, I can't do this anymore without cheating, wanting to swing my body, or just, I can't lift it. It's not going to come up anymore. So that's literally true fatigue. But let me tell you that when you put that weight down, if you rest for 30 seconds or a minute, you're not totally toast. You could pick it up again. So we're talking about muscular fatigue or temporary muscular fatigue, not to be confused with total exhaustion or total fatigue, have to lay on the couch the rest of the day. It's not at all where you're going to be at. You're going to feel just fine. Maybe notice when you go to lift that fork that, oh yeah, I worked something that I hadn't worked for a little while. But that, most of us will say, that's a kind of a good reminder that I've done something good for myself. So starting out 15 to 20 repetitions, you're going to do that weight, that repetition range, 1 to 2 times a week for about 2 weeks. You might do 1 or 2 sets, but don't push it and jump to 3 sets or 4 sets right away. So again, this connection, neural connection to the muscle, can't be rushed. So be safe. This is the foundation you're building your fitness on. Really takes time. So lay that down. You probably, if you haven't been lifting, are going to still notice that you're gaining some tone, some definition. You're gaining a little strength. You're carrying yourself differently. And all of that is extremely good. Then if you're doing fine, no aches, no pains, you're feeling like, this is okay, I can increase the weight. Then I want you to pick up a weight that only allows you to do about 10 to 12 repetitions. So not going to be able to get as many. It's got to be heavier. And so you're going to pick up something and find, okay, yep, that's more. And then you're going to do that similarly for a couple of weeks. Because again, you have to get those connective tissues, your ligaments and your joints and tendons all ready and adapted to doing more. Your muscle also needs some resilience, but it's probably going to be the lesser of all evils. You will be ready to go, and here you're going to say, I'm ready, I want to get progress. But slow yourself down. A couple weeks from that, if you're still feeling fine and feel like, I'm still within my limits and I can do more, you can increase that weight and try doing somewhere between 6 and 8 or even 5 to 7 repetitions. Now, that's pretty heavy, right? So if you can't lift it more than 5 or 6 times, you've been successful if that's your repetition range. So that gives you an idea of how many repetitions to fatigue. What it takes to figure that out is trial and error. You need to actually practice picking up some weights. So inevitably, you probably got some weights at home. So I'm going to start with those and just do repetitions to 15 to 20. How do you do? Are you at muscle fatigue, or do you actually need an upgrade and you need to do more? Little secret is you can hold 2 dumbbells in your hand, so you could crisscross those dumbbells and hold that and try that, so that if you have a 3 and a 5 pound, that neither one of them helped you reach fatigue, but holding them both and you got to 8, now you've got 8 pounds, maybe that helps you fatigue at say 10 to 12. Now you have a way to increase without going shopping. But here's the good news. You're going to outgrow those weights. So if you have to go shopping for weights, remember that you're buying longevity. You're buying your health. That's a pretty good investment. All right. So let me also help you with performance. So beginner, you're more intermediate, you've been lifting for 6 months or more consistently, then you may want to say, my biggest thing, the biggest priority is bone density. You want to do heavier weight and you want to do fewer repetitions then to get there. So what you're going to do, I'm focused a lot right now on bone density. So really looking at it, I'm about to turn 60 and know that muscle loss accelerates after 60 to 1 to 2% every year. Well, let's put the brakes on that, because muscle pulls on bone. We don't want to lose muscle because then we're more likely to lose more bone density. So I'm really working on that right now. So I'm doing 5 sets of 5 repetitions. So they're all heavy, they're all hard, and here's what you also have to keep in mind. Just because you start at set 1 with a certain weight does not mean that's the weight you're going to still want at the 4th or the 5th set. So you may have cumulative fatigue, you may not be able to lift as heavy, or on the flip side, occasionally you actually feel, I'm actually even warmed up even more. I started conservatively because I didn't want to get hurt, and I can lift more in those latter sets. So be smart, but do reach that point of 5 to fatigue, or think of this, 2 in reserve. What that means is you can finish at 5, but you're feeling like I can do no more than 2 more, and you still want to just stop, that's okay. For those of you who want to kind of err on the conservative side, not push your limits, not risk getting hurt, that's a great way to frame it. So a good friend of mine, Belinda Beck, was a guest on the What, When, and Why to Exercise for Women 40 and Over. That summit occurred in May of 2023. You can still get your hand on the recording if you want to do that. 40 experts about exercise. But she talked about the primary research that she was doing in the Lift More study. And if you're studying bone density and exercise sport at all, you probably come across that term, that word. So 5 sets, 5 repetitions. That gives you enough volume because it's 5 times 5, that's 25, right? But then you look at the weight you're lifting is a larger weight probably than you're used to. So other things that might be high priority. What if you are a golfer and you want a more fluid swing that goes right down the middle? Now that I can't control, but we can get you a few more yards to that drive. You have to hit it straight. So here's what you're going to want to do is probably do some higher range repetitions. So you're going to go lighter again in order to really work on performance. So that would be true if you were a golfer, you were looking to improve your gait as you were running. You're not going to run with really heavy weights, but you're going to do certain things in the gym or in your home gym that will help you, and you're going to do it with lighter weight and repetition. So you can do more of those 20, even up to 25 repetitions. But again, going too far beyond that, you're just wearing your joints out. So let's not do that. Okay, now that's if you're a beginner, you're more intermediate, or you're more advanced. And if your goals are gait and balance, working on golf, or getting better at running and your running form, you're going to go with lighter weights. You're going to go heavier at metabolism and bone density are your goals. Let me give you a very rough idea of what is light and moderate and heavy weight when you're starting out. So again, what I've given you is the best possible description so that you pick up and put down the weights and do trial and error. But I know it's nice to have a starting point. So generally with lightweight, when I give this recommendation, it's somewhere between 2, 3, or 5 pounds is lightweight. The kinds of exercises or muscle groups that you're going to do with those might be lateral raises, forward or front raises, here and here when you were working shoulders. Might be some work that you do with bicep curls or tricep kickbacks. Might be shoulder raising if you do or should do any overhead presses. A lot of my clients, we just eliminate that from their repertoire because of old shoulder injuries. So then choosing your light, so maybe you have a 3-pound weight. Well, medium is probably 8 to 10 or 12 pounds. It's kind of a moderate weight. Now that's something that now you're going to pick up heavier weight. You're going to use it potentially for doing overhead presses for your tricep press. You might also use this for bicep curls. Think about a bag of groceries. Think about a bag of dog food. I mean, those things are 40 pounds. You're used to picking up things heavier probably than you think you might. So don't be afraid to go into the store and pick up some weights and try it. Could I do? I did 10. Could I do 5 more? And figure out exactly where you are. That way, if somebody's bringing them to your door, you know you get it right. Okay, so if you're going heavy now, it's all relevant to what was your light, what's your medium, but heavy is probably something that you're either going to use for a chest press, for a bent over row, and there's plenty of videos here demonstrating those exercises, but you also might be holding that heavy weight so that you can do squats. Another way to help you overload your lower body, which is so much more stronger than your upper body, is to wear a weighted vest and hold a heavy weight. So you can hold one heavy dumbbell. I like to sometimes hold a kettlebell, not because there's anything magical or secret about it, but because the handle makes it very easy to hold on to. So think about what you need for squats, for lunges, for doing a chest press and a bent over row and your bicep curls and your tricep extensions, and get an idea so that you have at least 3 different pairs of dumbbells at home. So you've got something lighter for those small muscle groups and or for you when you're beginning, for those middle muscle groups like your biceps and triceps, and maybe your chest press, because you can always put 2 of those weights together to lift or to pull them, and then something heavier so that you can potentially use that for a chest press or a one-arm bent arm row or a squat. So I hope that helped. So who are you? Where are you in your journey? A beginner, intermediate, or more advanced? What are your goals, muscle or bone or performance and athletic goals? And where are you starting with, and what do you have at home? Let's try to work with what you have, experiment a little bit. Then when you do go shopping, you'll know exactly what you need. Ask me questions down below, and if you need to get started, I'll put a link so that you can do that too. And I'll see you on the flip side.